All right, today we're exploring Skywalkers, a love story. Because, gravity tends to work. And that's one thing that I would be so afraid of doing anything that's in this documentary. It's about two Moscow daredevils, Nikolau and Ivan Beerkus, where they have this thing where they like to climb buildings on the outside, kind of for sport and art. The documentary is directed by Jeff Zimbalist, and he's here with us to talk about it. Welcome to the show, Jeff. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Okay. What got you to want to do a documentary about these two, or a documentary about this subject overall, I guess?
Yeah, I was a sort of amateur urban explorer, rooftopper in my teens and 20s before I even knew the activity had a name. We just called it trespassing. But I was drawn to it because there was a transcendence of escaping the conventional locations of the city and finding a place where I could face my fear on my own terms. And that draw to the unknown helped me figure out who I was. And so I think that's a similar attraction that Vanya and Angela had initially before they turned it into a career. When I found out others were doing this around the world and they were doing much higher buildings and taking incredible photography of it, I started to track the rise of the phenomena, looking for a story that would resonate as deeply as my experience had. Mostly for 15 years, I just saw daredevils risking their lives for likes, and that wasn't of interest to me. It wasn't until 2016 when Angela Nikolau, as you mentioned, burst on the scene. She's the first female rooftopper at the time, and she's saying, I don't want to be like the guys. I'm going to do my own thing, do it through a female lens. She said her influences were high artists like Jean-Michel Basquiat and Andy Warhol, not influencers like the Kardashians. And then I called her and she said she'd been raised in a traveling circus and she saw this activity of rooftoping as the modern day traveling circus. I thought that was fascinating. And she introduced me to this guy, Vanya, who at the time is the most popular rooftopper in Russia, but she presented him as her rival or a competitor. And you could sense under the surface that there was a bubbling flirtation. And that's where this seed got planted of, okay, here's an angle. Maybe we could tell a love story on top of the world. Maybe we can use extreme climbing as a metaphor for romantic trust and make this something relatable to your average viewer who would never in a million years think to do an activity like this.
So rooftops and romance. That's a pretty interesting way to go. It took you what, 7 years, six countries to film this thing? There must be like challenges that were involved in that. What were some of the challenges or hurdles you had to jump over while producing this documentary?
Yeah, the number one obstacle and fear is that somebody would get hurt. Safety was our top priority. This is guerrilla filmmaking, and we're responsible for not only Ivan and Angela, but our crew. And so we had a really strict safety protocol that we wrote out and signed with them and with their families and with all of our crew. And it outlined how far we could go on some of these missions with them. And then we would let them go without us from there because there's cranes and spires and stuff. They have 10 plus years experience. They negotiate their threshold for risk with each other constantly as a part of their process. We didn't want to distract them from that. Didn't want to put the team in danger either. And so they did a lot of the extreme cinematography themselves while we did a lot of the cinematography about their relationship. Another obstacle obviously is getting something like this off the ground, and we had a leap of faith for finance from Library Films and XYZ, and they're like, we don't know what the ending is. It's cinema verite. It could be many years in the making, but we believe in you and we believe in the project, and here we are 7 years later, and we did have a climax, and we do have a finish line, and nobody got hurt, and this little harebrained scheme that I had ages ago has turned into something that the world can experience today on Netflix. So I'm incredibly grateful.
All right, my friend. Thanks for joining me today. That's Jeff Zimbalist. You got to check out Skywalkers, a love story. It's streaming right now on Netflix. Thanks for joining me, my friend.
Thank you.